The world is changing, and fast, not with tanks or treaties, but through pipelines, ports, and quiet handshake deals. And right now, two countries you might not expect, Canada and China, are quietly redrawing the global economic map, pivoting away from the United States and forcing a recalibration of power unlike anything we have seen in decades. What we are witnessing isn't just a trade realignment, it's the beginning of a new global power equation, one where the U.S. might no longer be at the center. Stick with me as we unpack how this strategic shift could reshape the future of energy, manufacturing, trade, and your wallet. If you find this kind of deep dive into global power shifts valuable, give this video a like and share it with someone who wants to understand what's really happening behind the headlines. The roots of this transformation trace back to a bold, some say reckless move, the Trump administration's 20% tariff on Chinese goods. The goal? Reassert dominance. The reality? It triggered a cascade of reactions that the U.S. is still struggling to control. Rather than folding, China doubled down, slashing U.S. imports, boosting ties with Europe, and critically opening new doors with Canada. That one move lit the fuse on a quiet trade revolution. For decades, Canada's economy moved in tandem with the United States, but as Washington grew more protectionist, Ottawa started looking east, and China welcomed them with open arms. Canada is now exporting more energy than ever, not just to the US, but across the Pacific. The expanded Trans Mountain Pipeline now channels Canadian oil directly to Asia, but it's the LNG projects that really signal the shift. By 2025, British Columbia's LNG terminal will be sending 14 million tons of natural gas annually to China and its neighbors. These aren't just contracts. These are strategic commitments, long-term, high-volume, and impossible to ignore. Canadian firms like ARC Resources have inked decade-long deals to supply China's growing appetite. At the same time, whispers in Ottawa suggest a willingness to tax or even limit oil exports to the US, a move that would give Canada enormous leverage over American refineries. Suddenly, Canada's not just a middle power, it's a key player. And as Canada looks east, American industries are starting to feel the ground shift under their feet. Tech giants like Apple and Qualcomm are deeply exposed. Apple relies on China not just to assemble its devices but for 16% of its sales. And Qualcomm, nearly half its revenue flows from Chinese buyers. Losing that market isn't a setback, it's an existential risk. General Motors sells more cars in China than at home. Same for Ford. And now, as China cozies up to Canada and sidelines US imports, Detroit's future gets murkier. Nike earned $7 billion from China in just 1 year. Starbucks is expanding more in Shanghai than Seattle. These companies aren't just selling products, they are investing their future in a market that may soon prefer Canadian partners over American ones. And here is where it gets really interesting. As the US pulls back, it's not just losing trade, it's losing trust. What happens when the world's largest economy becomes the least reliable partner? We'll dive into that in just a moment. No one's felt the sting of China's pivot more than US farmers. In 2016, the US supplied 40% of China's soybeans. Today, just 18%. Brazil and Argentina now fill the gap. For many American farmers, that shift means financial ruin. The US government has pumped over $120 billion in aid to the sector, but subsidies can't create demand. Energy producers aren't faring much better. As China turns to Canada for oil and LNG, American exports are losing steam. Even shale gas, once hailed as a revolution, is now being edged out in Asia. China isn't just reacting, it's executing a plan. When the tariffs hit, Beijing moved quickly. It diversified suppliers, streamlined logistics, and began forming deeper, more reliable partnerships. And it worked. Today, China isn't just surviving the trade war, it's emerging stronger. The country is winning over Europe, the Middle East, and now parts of North America. China is playing the long game and playing it well. What do you think? Is the US being outmaneuvered, or is this just a temporary dip in its dominance? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how you see this playing out. There is a new triangle forming, and the US isn't at the center. China is actively courting Europe, offering stability and long-term cooperation in contrast to the turbulence of US policy. Meanwhile, Canada brings resources, reliability, and access to North American infrastructure without the drama. This emerging axis, China, Canada, and the European Union, could soon control the majority of global trade flows. And once supply chains shift, they're hard to move back. Back home, American consumers are paying the price literally. Tariffs have pushed up the costs of steel, aluminum, electronics, clothing, you name it. From cars to coffee makers, prices are rising, and manufacturers who can't absorb those costs are either passing them on or shutting down. Rebuilding domestic manufacturing sounds good on paper, but after decades of offshoring, that's a slow and costly path. Here is the bottom line. Canada and China are forging a powerful new relationship, one that challenges US economic dominance. And if Washington doesn't recalibrate, it could be left behind in the very market it once controlled. For the US, this isn't just an economic issue, it's a strategic one. Lose the ability to shape global trade, and you lose a key pillar of global influence. This isn't the Cold War. It's colder, quieter, and fought with no missiles, but with contracts, cargo, and cooperation. And that's what makes it so dangerous. We are entering a new era, one where allies are fluid, power is multipolar, and trust matters more than might. Canada's pivot to China isn't just a trade deal, it's a message. The world no longer revolves around Washington. The United States still has enormous economic firepower, but to stay relevant, it must shift strategies, invest in innovation, rebuild trust, and compete not with tariffs, but with vision. Because while power may have once been centralized, it is now being distributed among nations that see cooperation, not confrontation, as the path forward. The question isn't whether US can lead again. The question is, will it adapt in time? If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for more analysis like this, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss a story that actually matters. Thanks for watching and stay sharp because the global game is changing fast.